Hey everyone, welcome back. So today's gonna be probably a shorter video, but I did want to talk about this because it was something that I found different when I moved to LA. And yeah, I just want to see if anyone else has had this same experience. So, as you know, when you move somewhere new, you're gonna have to learn how the people speak there, you're gonna have to learn the culture, how people interact, everything. And the language and the lingo is part of what you have to learn when you move to a new place. So, even if you speak a language and you think you already know what people are saying, there's always going to be some type of variation, some type of different dialect depending on the place. So let's get into the question. When I moved to LA, people would ask me this question: where are you from? And for me, this has always been a complicated question my whole life. And so it was already, complicated from the beginning. But over time, I had learned how to answer it. So normally when people ask you where you're from, they are usually asking you three things that I can think of. Comment below before I say these things what you think of if someone asks you where you're from. So normally people are wondering what geographic location you're from, what city. They're either wondering that or what is your ethnic background. So they really want to know what's your race, ethnicity, and they say where are you from to ask that. Or they want to know what country you're from. So it's usually in this realm of answers that they're looking for. So when I moved to LA, right, and people would ask me where I was from, I had my generic answer, generic for me, I had it prepared. But then I noticed that people would give me this weird look of no, like, what part of the city do you live in? And I would be like, huh? So I would give them an actual place where I thought I was from, and they would respond with, no, where in the city do you live? And I'm just like, if that's what you wanted to know, why didn't you just ask that? But it happened more than once, right? The first time it happened, I was like, this is a weird little breakdown in the conversation. You're asking me where I'm from, but you want to know where I live, but that's not the answer that you want. But then it would happen again and again. And I'm like, oh, like, I don't know if it's because distances are so far, the cities spread out, that like where you're from feels like a whole nother world to somebody. If you live on the west side and someone lives on the east side, like that might just be a whole nother world in LA. So they really want to know where you're from, because it's so far. And so eventually I realized the question they were asking is, where do you live in the city? So I kept asking myself, right, why don't they just ask that straightforward? And there's different reasons that probably someone didn't want to ask that. Maybe they would think that it would be creepy to ask, where do you live? Um, Maybe it's just too many words to say, what part of the city do you live in? And saying, where are you from, definitely is faster than saying, what part of the city do you live in? So those are all different reasons why someone might use the question in that way. And so, of course, now after having lived in LA for a long time and encountering this question often, I now have a response that I give that is changed completely. So the way I would speak before is now different. And sorry if I got distracted. I see my text messages going off, and then I'm like trying not to like read it at the same time. Sorry. But so now my generic response is, I am from blank place, but I live in blank part of this city. So that is the shortest way that I could come up with that answered probably all of the possible questions that they wanted to know from me, um, giving them all the information that they were hoping to get by asking. The only thing it doesn't answer is what's your ethnicity, right? And like, obviously, by looking at me, you can tell my race, but maybe not necessarily my ethnicity. So in those cases, people still have to clarify, but I feel more confident that my response gives you enough information to go off of, in terms of what part of the city I'm in and where I'm from, just all combined into one neat little bow. So, yeah. And then, of course, too, sometimes depending on the context and who the person is, where I met them, I can tell if they're asking me like an ethnicity related question, and then I would just give that response. But otherwise, yeah, we're sticking with I'm from here, but I live here. So comment below if you've noticed any other weird quirks. I don't want to say a weird quirk, but like if you've noticed any other nuances in how people speak in one specific city that you've moved to versus another city, even though they speak the same language, but they just use phrases a little bit differently than what you would expect. Yeah, I'd love to hear about your experiences. And that is all for this video. Check out the blog post I wrote on this, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye.